I followed them with my ears till they came into the bedroom, and it hit the... Sitting in the corner playing with dolls.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Psychic Point of View. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Lamport. I'm the producer of the psychic show Rescue Mediums. And in The Psychic Point of View, what we do is we discuss and interview people in the psychic area, find out what they do, what they're into, and all that sort of stuff. And it's always very exciting. And my co-host, the wonderful Jackie Dennison, joins me, as always.
Thank you for the introduction, Michael. Yeah, I'm always here somewhere, somewhere in the background. I'm really, really happy today that we've got Tina Hardt with us. Have I pronounced your name correctly, Tina?
Absolutely. It's that Germanic DT that always throws everyone off.
Right. And we're really excited about this because one of the reasons that we've asked you to come on the show is your latest deck of cards that I am very, very lucky to have a copy of here. Thank you so much. The Beloved Dead. And these are not available in England yet, so I am so happy that you gifted these to me, and I'm using them. I have to say, I'm using them within my readings. I absolutely love them. They talk to me. I love it.
That's always so wonderful to hear, because I know when we were creating this deck that we set a lot of sort of intentions. We gave them big jobs. So, you know, and for you to say that, that's, you know, I'm extremely honored.
Oh, thank you. They're so different. They're so, because I use lots of different decks of cards within the work that I do. And I always ask Spirit to tell me what to look for in the cards. So that's how I work clairvoyantly with them. These have got an extra little bit to them that, and just as I've just taken the top card off of here. And just look at that.
Yeah. That's fine.
And I'm looking at this. These are so great. The pictures are so great. And of course, the wording that goes with them is, and Spirit are straight away going, yes, I want to talk about that. Yes, I want to say that, you know, and this one literally is making me smile straight away. And then, of course, you know, they will tell me what to say about them. And then we go to the, you know, the guidebook that goes with these cards, and boom, you get a whole sort of plethora of fantastic words and wisdom with that. So this is a British saying, I'm really chuffed, and I'm really chuffed to have these.
What gave you the idea, Tina, to do this sort of deck of cards?
So it had a little bit of a backstory, as it were, because Carrie Paris, who I'm so sorry she couldn't be here today, because she's actually transitioning to Italy. She's making the move to live in Tuscany, Italy.
Oh God!
I know, like
fantastic.
A master manifester, that woman, and you would absolutely adore her. But it all kind of started, without getting into an extremely lengthy story, but she had a box of ancestral photos, and she was going through, and there's a specific photo in that deck that's called Ancestry, and it's of two elderly Italian people with a little boy in front of them. It's like a heartbreaking and loving image. So one, like, New Year's Day, she picked this out of her box of pictures, and that's what started the ball rolling, because she had no idea who these people were and how that little boy would have grown up. And she knew some of the she would subsequently learn some of the details, but regardless, she began and we began work on something called the relative tarot, which basically thematically and from a design sort of aesthetic would be using all of these sort of old antique sort of Victorian photos. So the Victorian tarot was created. That's right. Oh my gosh. And I can say something else about them a little later. That's amazing. But she started the Relative Tarot, and we did a Kickstarter project, and we had the Spirit Oracle that was sort of like a companion deck. That was just something to go along with the Relative Tarot. But then when the beautiful Wiser Red Wheel Books picked up the deck, now it went through the paces, and now we started working on it and its own divinatory system and its own job and its own function and its own identity. And so that's how that started.
And then, and you say, Jackie, when you looked at the pictures, because they are old pictures, that they actually seem to speak to you.
When Carrie first started, she had there was a Facebook group, and she invited a lot of our community to send in pictures of their real ancestors. So some of these are photographs of real ancestors, and some of them are just pictures that she sort of accumulated that were extremely, and that was one of the things, is you wanted to have an image that was chatty. We wanted an image where there was definitely a dialogue going on. And because some of these pictures, you can't really know their authentic backstories and histories, right? So it became meditative, where now you're looking at an image, and it became meditative, and it's like, what do them lot upstairs? I love that expression, Jackie.
Them lot upstairs.
What job did they want this particular member of the spirit team have? So that's kind of how we approached it.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they are so different. I mean, I've just picked another one out here, and some of them are really, really theatrical.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And
now that has a little whimsy to it. That the hardship card, that has a little whimsy to it because of that. But the message of that card really is, sometimes that is an unavoidable hardship that needs to be considered or looked at. Even though that does look very theatrical and dramatic, there are other cards in the deck that would be interpreting your hardship as being sort of, you're being the author of your own drama.
Because I mean, when I first saw this card, before I read anything about it, her other hand is like here to a heart.
Oh my, you could feel that, right?
Oh yeah, and I could feel that. I could feel my heart beating in my chest when I looked at the card. And that's what I meant, Michael, when I said these cards spoke to me. It's like the people in the cards were speaking to me, as well as the energies that I'm communicating with them lot upstairs, what they're telling me. And so it's like, okay, what is the heart of this? What are you trying to tell me here? And then that's when, those the connection with loved ones in spirit I'm passing messages on, it's like that takes on whole different meaning, as well as the meaning within the booklet. So that's what I meant by these cards speak to me in a different way. So I love them, and I love the backstory that you've just given us, to that. I love how they came together in that way.
Did you see the movie Chocolat?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So you understand that concept of sympathetic magic when she's creating these things. But there were days that I would be flooded in tears, or there would be days when I was elated, or I was picking up all kinds of emotions. So to some degree, And I also know too, as a diviner and a cartomancer, that I'm very when I read with certain decks, they all have different voices and energies. And I think a lot of that
Yeah.
does come from the deck readers, right? I
Yeah.
think that's possible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your grandmother was involved in divining cards too, wasn't she?
Yes. So on my maternal side of the family, both my aunt and my aunt and my grandmother read cards. They read playing cards. And my aunt read in a tea room in downtown Toronto. It was a really well-known tea room in downtown Toronto. But I was younger, and the system, their cartomantic system, um, it was heavily influential in my wanting to be just sort of like that. But it's not this. I don't know it, right? So I've had to develop and learn my own. But yeah, they were my grandmother. She would read. I was babysat in their house. It's a park in a very, very haunted house in High Park.
Yeah.
And I would come and I'd be babysat there, right? Because I went to what used to be Argentina Public School, right? They changed the name in the Falkland Crisis. But I would come home and there'd be this whole parlor full of Polish women, right? Boxes of Kleenex, and she'd have the cards, and she'd be reading for all the punnies in the neighborhood, and I just thought, wow, what a spectacle that was.
Yeah. So it's obviously in your blood, this, isn't it?
I hope so. But Jackie, I think you'll find this interesting. I think the helper, my loved ones and my spirit helpers, I think are somewhat on the other side of the family, which made no sense, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe as well, your grandmother on your mum's side doesn't feel that you need to have her knowledge because you've already got that knowledge. So she doesn't need to influence you or help you in that way because you're already doing that yourself.
It could, that's extremely true, right? But hearing from my cousins too, apparently there were some psychics that went back in that side of the family, which I never knew. So that, those are always fun things to discover.
Yeah.
When you were in the haunted house in High Park, Tina, did you ever experience any manifestations?
No, and that's the whole thing about early onset mediumship. I have always been, I was, no, I could feel, like, if I think back, I could feel the energy, definitely, right? But I didn't know what it meant or what to do with it. But my two cousins, the older one, there was this one back room. The room loved her. And the entity that was in the room could not stand the younger cousin and would go out of the way, right? There was a rocking chair in there. She'd be studying. She'd be studying in bed, and then suddenly the rocking chair would start. She'd go and stop. Now the rocking chair would go crazy. It like got so oppressive in there, it would boot her out. So, and we always laughed about that. It would boot her out. Apparently, they said there were orbs in the basement, but in this specific house, no, I didn't. But I guess I've always been envious of anyone that's had that early onset mediumship experience. I didn't start like that for me. It started like it opened up later. But I know it sounds crazy, but everyone's complaining about all these dead people standing at the edge of their bed. And I'm screaming. I'm like, I'm here. I'm here. Hello. Why are you going over there? They don't want you. I'm here. Hello. No. I'm open for business. That way.
Oh, you and I are very similar, I think, in that respect, because I didn't have the full-blown mediumship experience as a child. I'm just aware of a couple of different incidents that made me aware that I could see things. And then as a teenager, I went looking for that and I couldn't find it anywhere. But it was much later on in life that this sort of came to me. when I became more open and then wanted to see. And I still don't physically see, I see here. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm doing spirit rescue work, I'm able to see the changes here, but more often than not, it's here that I see or I
Right.
feel something. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it is, don't even get me started, but I love your show. I'm still pinching myself that I'm sitting here with you. I'm a massive fan of the work that you do and have done, both of you. And so it really is an honor for me to be here with you, Jackie. I love the work that you've done.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And, if it wasn't for Michael, none of this show would have come together because it's down to Michael and his business partner, Gregory Shepherd, who saw that, what this could be and put it out there. So, and that's down to my ancestors as well, because that's how Michael and I met through I was
Wow.
family history looking for my great uncle. I was looking for my great grandfather actually. I didn't find him. I found his brother who happened to build the house that Michael lives in. So he went from England to Toronto and built Michael's house. And so that's how we met through family history. So yeah, that's definitely the ancestors saying, come on, you guys need to get together for whatever reason. And we've been friends ever since. He's stuck with me now, you see, and he's a family member. He's an honoured family member now. Do you think your own loved ones in spirit are working with you when you are and not just doing the cards, but when you are, because this isn't the only deck of cards that you've done, of course, the Beloved Dead. You've done other decks of cards as well. Do you think that they're influencing you when you're compiling these cards?
I, it would be foolish for me to say no.
Mm,
Sometimes you look back on something and it does not even feel like that I've had a part in it. Do you know what I mean?
right.
It's
Yeah.
almost like
Mm.
altered, it's an altered state experience where it's just, you know what, certainly I'm going to have to go in there and I'm going to have to make sure the words make sense. But some of the content and so yeah, I really do believe yes, to some degree, that feeling that someone wants to be in service, when you're just saying,
Mm.
please, I just want to be in service. I want to put something out there that's going to help or have a role or purpose in the world, that's bigger than myself. I think that's
Yeah.
when you do put yourself up to getting a lot of that guidance, right?
But do you
Mhm.
think that the guidance is sort of like you channeling the spirit?
I would like to, I'd say, there are days, really, it's like extracting teeth, like any creative profession. There are days where it's just like, shoot me. This is like boring a big hole in my forehead, but then you have to keep pushing, pushing yourself through that. And there are other days, like, where did the time go? Like, where did
Yeah.
it go? You know?
Yeah.
So certainly, I mean, I consider myself very lucky, right, to be involved or have that opportunity, and there by the grace of Carrie Paris, go I, and there by the grace of Carrie actually go many of us. If not for Carrie, um, 8, 9 years ago, Reader Studio in New York City, and there was one reading that just changed the course of everything. So.
Right.
No, is Carrie originally from Italy?
Carrie's from California, and you know how sometimes you just meet people, and it doesn't matter where they're
Mm.
from. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you know them, right? So they just feel like you have a different kind of kindred connection.
Yes.
There are times that she'll say that's really gnarly, and it'll make me break out in laughter because it's like I'm chuffed. Oh yeah, that's right, you're British. No, it's like, yeah, it was really gnarly. And then it's like, oh yeah, you're from California. you know?
Yes.
No, she has Italian ancestry. Italian ancestry. And so she just decided that for this part of her, this part of her life, that she just wanted to go and start living in Italy and eating truffles. And
how do you find working with playing cards? How does that work for you?
I love them. I love them. But I seem to work with symbols better. So
Right.
if I had, I guess maybe a photographic memory, but so I have what's considered tool belt. So I'll use different tools for different contexts or different types of information. So what I actually wanted to turn to the playing cards for is that they are heavily detailed. So they can get into sort of diagnostic, situational, and deep details that aren't necessarily psychological or
Mm.
deeply spiritual, right? When somebody, quite frankly, wants to know how a legal case is going to evolve, or they want to know the details of something, they don't want to get told, well, we think that this situation started on your mom's side of the family, or you know what I mean? There are all kinds of details that they're not interested in. So you need a diagnostic tool. So playing
Yeah.
cards do that, but also so will like the Kipper or the Lenormand cards do that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Are you planning
Yeah.
to develop new cards, like a new deck or something?
For the time being, I think the next project that I'd like to work on, actually, that is, I also love casting charms. So I think that I find them, and again, Carrie Harris, the shamans and healers would throw bones, right, and read bones, right?
Right. Yeah.
Carrie began years ago introducing a set that was a little bit more kitsch, and it's kind of like junk drawer. It's like a junk drawer collection of these tiny, shiny, awesome, kitschy little treasures, right? And I love them, right? And so I've some kits that should be quite insured by Lloyd's of London, because they're like over 1,000 pieces, and some of them have been 20. I found some on the ground, and others are like $20 that I've got off of eBay because they're vintage, and I just love them, right? So I think, if anything, that will be the next thing that will occupy quite a bit of time.
Fabulous. I love one of the things that I did with my colleague, one of my colleagues, Steve Furlong, and I. We do different retreats in different places. We've done them in Canada. We do them in Spain, and one of the things that we did in Spain was we do a beach meditation there. So we go down onto the beach and we sit in a circle, or we go early in the morning, so it's not too hot. And we taught the group through meditation. And then when we finish the meditation, we take a walk along the beach and we pick up pebbles or shells and things. And then we use them for the next part of the afternoon. We use them for divination, and we work with the divination of because you've been drawn to them for a reason. And it can be a mixture of the two. It can be a mixture of the stones and the shells. And I just absolutely love working with that kind of energy, because you're making your own. It's like making your own rune stones, But I think when you feel a draw to something, there's a reason for it. And I think them lot upstairs are saying, this is what you need to do next. So I think that they're obviously doing that with you, and they're saying, this is what you need to do next, Tina.
Just last couple of days, I just put together like a lithomancy kit just for fun, right? They're all gemstones, and I've got some shells exactly the same thing. And I just think it's fun. You sit with it. Michael. It's like anything. Go in a junk drawer, and then you just hold it. And the most fun is determining what it wants to be. It's informing you. It's telling you. This is what I want to do. So
it makes you realize how things are connected, how we are all connected to different things, with objects or people or whatever.
Exactly.
We are.
And the great thing about charms too is, right, you can use them as free association. So sometimes I don't have the answer, but your sitter will have the answer. You know,
Right.
I did a reading and I got a hand. We talked about the fact that she was going to be in some new area of study, and that it was going to be really good for her. And then we drew this hand. And so then, you know what I mean? I just went like this and said, so, you know, what's that mean to you? What's the first thing? And then she started laughing because she was going into massage therapy. Right? So sometimes, you know, that's the most fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, Jackie, I wanted to tell you something. There are two cards in the deck. That aren't written. There are two things about two of the cards that are in the Beloved Dead that I wanted to share with you because they can be used in ways that aren't in the book.
Okay.
The Ouija card.
Oh, no, 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 no. I know. I've seen it. I've seen it. Because you'll know through watching Rescue Mediums what my opinion is of the Ouija board. However, as soon as I saw it in the dark, I was going, no. But then when I looked at it and I've used them within my readings, and it's come up a few times, and it just connects me straight away. It's not the Ouija board as such. It's I see it as a connection to opening a doorway or the possibility of being how to be in control of that in a concise and proper manner. That's how I see it.
So the poem said it all, right? Because I have similar
Right.
feelings about spirit boards, very similar
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to lay in, if the cards were going to be used by paranormal investigators, I wanted to lay in a card that suggested, okay, if that comes up, even though yes, it tells there could be the presence of spirit, and I've had someone use it extremely positively, right? But it is built in with the hello, goodbye. But the most important thing to know is that it could indicate that a portal has been opened, or that there has been somebody that has been using the spirit board that has created the potential for whatever's happening, whatever activity is happening to be, right? So that's why I put that card in. And Carrie actually, at the time, you know, it was supposed to be one card. They were Wiser was so great and they allowed that extra card. But that poem says it, you know, says it all. But we have, yeah, I feel the same way, but that's exactly right.
Yeah. 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 And as soon as I saw it, it was like,
Ooh.
no, this is a great deck of cards. Why is this card here? You know, and I questioned it. I have to be very honest about that. But then when it did come up in a reading, it's come up in two readings actually. It was very it really made sense with the other cards that were there as to its meaning rather than somebody who uses a Ouija board. But I can see how you would for somebody who does paranormal investigations, that they could potentially use that. When I'm doing a paranormal investigation, um, mainly I just use me. It's like my psychic antenna. Um, but you know, people do use other things, and they need to know how to use them correctly. You know, or if this
And
is
it's
that potential. Yeah.
also the difference between the spirit throne is 100% transitioned, and the Ouija, in some instances, I'm not saying across the board, but in some instances could be saying that you know, a heads up that this could be someone untransitioned, right? Or lower vibrational, or you know,
Yes.
an opening, right? It's got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff built into it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can share with you one of the things because you have no idea who the people are that I'm talking about, and I obviously wouldn't say their names anyway. But one of the ladies that the Ouija board came out with, and it was right next to the card which says appearance. So, um, and she was going through, she was in a fairly new relationship, and she wanted to know about this person that she was dating. It was quite a new relationship, and it was like, oh, I'm really not happy about this relationship because it was when we looked into it, it's like he's putting it's all about the appearance. I'm telling you what I want you to know. I'm telling you what I think you should know, but I'm not really telling you about who I really am. And so the Ouija board, for me, right next to it was a big no-no. It was like, if you really want to see this person, then that's up to you. But you need to know that he has the potential to be quite a dark personality with quite a low vibration. And so there is that flip side to him that is almost like Jekyll and Hyde. And it totally made sense to us. So that's how I used it in that instance.
Oh, that's so perfect. Yeah, that's so perfect, right?
Yeah.
And the other, that ancestral card that you held up earlier,
Yes.
Again, that beautiful story. They were, visibly impoverished and took this boy in, and without getting too much into, out of respect for it's Carrie's story, but there's also information in that card. If children were born out of wedlock or orphaned, that card would hold and store some of that backstory in it as well, right?
Okay.
Another gear for that. Another, depending on how it shows up, of course, within the context of, right.
Right. Yeah. It totally makes sense because it has come out a few times, this card, within the readings. But in a very loving, caring way, in that ancestors, loved ones in spirit were drawing near, grandparents were drawing near. It has come up as an adoption, though.
Oh, yeah.
In one instance, it came up as an adoption, and it made total sense. It was a nice adoption. It was a very lovely adoption. But this lady has recently found her natural birth sister and has found another brother that they didn't know about, and they've recently connected within the last few months. So that one came. So it had a completely different ancestral feel to it for that reason,
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this is how the cards are speaking to me in that way, it's not just the meaning of the card. It has a meaning with spirit who I'm connecting with, but it's almost as if these characters are coming out and said, this is my story. You need to say about this because it will make sense to the person that you're talking to within their story. It's like I'm telling a story, but it's also relevant.
Now, when you use the cards, then do you lay them out, like, for example, like you would lay out a tarot with the cross, and then, is that how the cards are laid out?
So, I wouldn't lay them out like that, just because I've even stopped using the Celtic cross in tarot, right? I
don't use it.
No, I think what I do is I just start laying, like I'm laying, and sometimes I'll in groups of 3, or it's just if I'm just looking for a narrative. Now, there is a way to use, there is a whole gear that is built into this deck that is helping people look at imprints, patterns, breaking through some childhood wounding and trying to heal. There's a whole spread in there that deals specifically with that. But if we're going to be laying something out, like, for instance, let's say a paranormal investigation, let's say you do want to use yourself as a tool and rely on your clairs and rely on that. But sometimes cards are really useful for doing a little bit of a investigative study with the family that's going through these anomalies.
I can see that.
There's anything there that is like attracting like, or is this thing attached to a piece of furniture? Is it attached to, there's so many reasons, but sometimes the psychological state or the wellness of the family that's living in that house, their vibration can be raised as well. And that's when I think cards can be very therapeutic. So you're using the deck therapeutically, right? And then and there would be different ways, but I think I would just be doing this, asking questions, cards, asking another question, cards,
Right.
just asking, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you how I'm using them. And sometimes Spirit will tell me to use cards in a completely different way. Because I do the first half hour of my reading is just clairvoyance. It's always clairvoyance and nothing else. And then I do half an hour with the cards. But I still use them clairvoyantly because they tell me what to say about them. But I shuffle them. I used to get my clients to shuffle them.
Right.
But I shuffle them now. And that's been since COVID. It's like
Pre-COVID,
ridiculous.
absolutely.
Yeah, I know. But I shuffle them now. But I'd still get the clients to choose the cards. So I lay them face down and they pick 6 cards out, which they give to me. So I always use my first card as the anchor card, no matter what deck I'm using. It's always the anchor card. But before I turn them over, I usually say to the sitter, have you got a question you would like to ask? And if they have, then the anchor card is to do with the question. If they don't have a question, then it will be like a confirmation of what we've talked about earlier on, or it can be Spirit want to add more things to the whole of the reading. And so we've got the energy from the sitter who has handled the cards and chosen those cards themselves. And then sometimes I'll do another 6 cards. So there's 12 cards. So I have 6 and then another 6 underneath. They start to relate to each other and then within the story. So it can even be within a year because there's 12 cards or so, but I listen to what they're telling me within the cards in that way. So that's how I use them. But sometimes Spirit will say to me, you don't need to do that. It's just 3 cards, just 3 and no more. And so I'm listening to what they're telling me. But I am going to have a go at using them before I go on an investigation, just to see what transpires when I'm there. So I will let you know about that.
Oh, of course.
Are you going to do another season?
We're hoping.
We would love to. We would love to. We would love to.
It's sort of more up to the broadcaster than us, but we're still trying.
Yeah.
Let's both you and I pick a card and see if that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Go for it, girl.
Which is really interesting because here's the handshake.
Oh, cool. And that's the promise.
The promise, exactly. But is there a bit of delay getting things off the ground with this? There's some work that needs to be done that what I feel like has been delayed, and that needs a little bit more attention, right, to get it to the stage where you've got something, right? So it's been just a bit relaxed.
That's true. I mean, it's easy to blame COVID, but I mean that sort of put everybody into a bit of a la-la land.
Exactly, right? So now it's just like time to fire up the engines again, right? So it feels like it's been in that, we all get into that stage when you've worked really hard on something and then you let it go. And then it's all about taxiing along the runway. And then just sort of getting back into having to deal with things that are more mundane. But that's there. It's just the first commitment has to start with getting, I guess, whatever, the proposals or all that stuff off the ground, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Because, sometimes time off can be quite addictive too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. But as you were doing that, I was shuffling the cards at the same time, and one of them literally just jumped straight out. I haven't picked it out; it's jumped out, and this is defense.
Yeah,
so it totally goes, with what you were saying, like about things being a bit slow. We're having to defend what we've got, and we're having to look ahead here. I love the look on his face. Look at that determination.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I'm not
We're getting there.
Right. Yeah, that too. Right. That too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love it when they do their speech here. I mean, the defense card, of course, is all about defending yourself. But I mean, you should know because you wrote the cards. But as I'm seeing it, it's because I've got the page open here. I've just literally read halfway down the page, and it says, "It's hard to hear. I'm sorry over those odd cans of what ass opening." I love the way you write things. And it says there's a need to relearn this response. So that's very interesting because it's like we need to look at it and how can we present this in a different way to push it forward, So
There also
yeah.
could be someone that you're dealing with on the other side where there could be some artistic differences possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, it's having to understand where that compromise is, where you're both bringing something to the table, so you might have to get over that a little bit. It's because
the easiest way though, Tina, to compromise with the broadcaster as an independent producer that I found is that what you do, you always put into what's called the rough cut, which is the first cut of the show, and it's longer than regular time and everything. And you always put in something that is not good so that they can say, you know what? No, I think that should be taken out. And you go like,
yeah,
oh,
you're so right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're brilliant. So you just manipulate them. And that sounds really rude. What's that?
It's the things card.
Yes.
Right? So that can be considered junk, like exactly what you're just talking about.
Exactly
right?
what you just said. All the things. So we need all of these things in here, or should we just take some of them out?
That's fabulous. That's hilarious, right? So there you go.
So there you go. We've just had a reading, Michael. Rescue Mediums has just had a reading from Tina Hardt. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we'll see where it goes.
Yes, we shall keep you informed.
Well, my fingers are crossed because I just think it's a brilliant program, and the whole thing about mediums that are, first of all, rescue mediumship is not an easy thing to do.
No,
it is
a
very difficult thing to do, right?
Yeah.
It's such a gift. But to think that people are out doing house calls, I mean, that's hilarious. And I love the whole opening of the show. I love the music and the opening of the show. I love the sense of humor and the relationship and the connection that you've had, with both Allison and, I'm sorry, the other woman's name again.
Christine. Yeah, with Christine and Allison. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for sure this is going to be great to get this back off the ground. Please do it.
We would love it.
We're going to try. I promise.
All right, my lovely. We shall look forward to reconnecting with you again in the future. Good luck with everything that you're doing, especially with these cards for you and Carrie as well. And good luck to Carrie with her move. And we will hopefully see you again in the future.
On behalf of Carrie and myself and Wiser too, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much. And it was such a pleasure to meet the two of you.
You're very, very welcome.
Yeah, you're great, Tina. You're great.
Tira, my loves.
Okay. See you later.
Ciao. Bye-bye.